Hello fight fans, welcome back to WhatCulture Combat. I am, of course, as always, your trusty Gareth, sat here with his mirror there in his room because isolation. You know what, you take a few days off of the world of MMA, you just enjoy isolation, you watch a bit of Disney Plus, and everything goes nuts. Everything's changed. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. That highly anticipated clash that we were expecting to get between Khabib and Tony Ferguson, it seemed like it could be going on ice, like a lot of the other cards that have been put on ice, really, because of the current global situation. But then Dana came out and said, no, we're going to make this fight happen. I'm not going to tell you where the location is, but we're going to make it happen. Then Khabib flew home to Russia to train, and Dana was still saying, yeah, it's going to happen. But now Khabib has come out on Instagram Live and clarified that it's looking like it's not going to happen, which is devastating if you're an MMA fan, but what can we do? This is the hand that we've been dealt in this situation right now. But he said this is courtesy of RT Sport. He mentioned in this Instagram Live chat, he said, we were training in the AKA without any information regarding the fight, where and how is it going to happen. Then the UFC told us that the fight 100% isn't happening in the States, and they said that 99% that it will happen in Emirates or Abu Dhabi. Emirates, Abu Dhabi, you get what I mean. After talking to the UFC, we decided to fly over to the Emirates a month before the fight. I don't remember the exact date, it was 19th or 20th, but when we landed in the Emirates, we learned that they are going to close borders, and no one will be able to fly or leave that area once you get in there, with the exception for residents. So we had to fly back to Russia, and currently he's back in Dagestan. He's training, preparing every day, although he doesn't know what he's preparing for, obviously, because of what's going on with the situation. When he flew back to Dagestan, after they got back into Russia, they also learned that the borders are going to be locked. So just like in the States, just like in Europe, Emirates, everywhere, the whole world is in quarantine right now. That's what he said. He also then mentioned that the show probably would have to go on without him if he couldn't get there, because Dana's looking like he's hell-bent on making the show happen, which we'll get into a bit more detail later on. He said, so now I'm hearing that they are going to organise it with or without me. Okay, go ahead. Everyone should follow the laws. I'm not against it. I know that fighters need to feed their families and pay their bills. I know how hard it is for the fighter. Unless they fight, they aren't getting any money, which is completely spot on. If there are fighters there willing to step in, who can step in this situation within these current guidelines, then Khabib's stepping out the way, saying, yeah, go on, you take over my spot if you want. But in terms of the card going ahead, this card just seems cursed at this point. It just seems like it's not going to happen. It shouldn't happen. The only reason a lot of us wanted to watch this card in the first place was to see Tony take on Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now that fight's probably not going to happen. And there are a few people who are throwing their names into the hat, which we'll get into, who's saying they want to jump in either to fight Tony or just to have a different clash, a new headline clash. But at the end of the day, you can do that later on. In my personal opinion, we wanted to see that fight. If we're not going to see that fight, then just hold it off. Just accept that it's not going to happen. Let me know what you guys think of that, obviously in the comment section below, if you think the UFC 249 card should still go ahead. It'd be great to see some fights. Obviously, I understand that in the current situation we need as much escapism as possible, but you got to think of the health and safety of the people involved, if it's worth the risk at this point. But in terms of people who want to jump in to that fight, that Tony fight, Justin Gaethje has been obviously tapped now as a possible replacement for Tony. He was saying that he was keeping warm and ready just in case somebody drops out of that fight. ESPN initially reported that, but yeah, that'd be an epic fight. But again, it's a fight that, I mean, I'd be excited to watch and I'd love to see it, but I'd love to see it in front of a crowd. I'm not that excited about it and that desperate for it. I want to see it in an empty building where people are at risk. It's just such an odd situation to be in. Dustin Poirier is also offered to fight Tony, which again, it'd be a great fight, but it's not a fight that I'm saying, okay, break all the rules, make this fight happen no matter what. It's a fight that would be great further down the line as well. We're not in desperate need for it, I don't think anyway. You guys might completely disagree and you might say, yeah, if we can get any fight on any fight, it's a fight at least, and it helps us get our minds off it, which again is completely understandable, and I agree to a certain extent as well. And then Dana has actually come out again and pretty much debunked the idea of Khabib and Tony not happening, which again is quite odd. I'll go into a bit more detail. Yeah, so White spoke to the Heavyweight podcast. He said, I woke up this morning and the whole world effing changed again. So back to the drawing board, and we're figuring this out now as we're speaking right now. I have people working on this thing as we speak. Listen, I am absolutely effing relentless, and I said that this fight is going to go on, and it will. So he was keeping in the same vein of form as what he has throughout this entire ordeal. He's being brash and just puffing his chest up and saying this fight's going to happen, I'm going to make it happen, no situation is ever going to stop a fight of this magnitude happening. But he's also taken a lot of criticism for planning and continuing to plan and promote this card, obviously on April 18th. Also, almost the entire world and all the sporting events around the world have been shut down because of this this current global situation. He's still not even clarified where the actual fight would be, what the location would be, or the venue for the event. And he was poked again on this on the heavyweight podcast, and he said a lot of these media guys are absolute total effing scumbags. As soon as you let them know what you're doing, all they're trying to do is F up everything that you've worked. So I literally told every one of these guys to go F themselves, and I'm not telling any of them what I'm doing, where I'm doing it, but know this, the fight is happening on April 18th, somewhere on planet effing Earth, and when you need to know, I'll let you know. He seems like he's in quite a defiant mood, let's say, effing and blinding left, right and centre. He just seems very... It's a high pressure situation, I get this. It's one of the biggest fights in UFC history, and he wants it to go on. I think he wants it for the fans, probably for himself as well, just as a challenge to himself really, that he could still get this fight on despite everything that's going on. For me, it just seems like the entire world, everything is saying stop doing this, don't have this card at this point. It's not going to be the card it needs to be at this point, but Dana's gonna Dana, and he's gonna get his head down and keep powering through. Then we've also got Jorge Masvidal, who's volunteered his services for UFC 249 as well. He said that he's willing to jump in there and fight Kamaru Usman, because they were scheduled to have a fight in the International Fight Week. Not sure if that's even going to happen at this point, but he's offered to jump in there and have that fight. But I think he tweeted that. He said the initial tweet was April 18th, I'm free, #the resurrection. He followed that up by saying, second time I say yes to the crotch sniffing champ, second time he has a date, #the resurrection. But then Usman sort of went against this, because on Twitter he put start cutting weight, mother effer. A lot of effing and blinding in this news today, I'm very sorry. But he said this on Twitter as well, so it looks like they're both throwing their names into the hat. That would... It'd still be a good fight, but I don't think it's anywhere near the same level of as Khabib-Tony in terms of anticipation. I'm not falling over myself to see that fight. Also, we've got Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington have offered to throw down again. They offered obviously to fill in for UFC London when Leon Edwards couldn't get over to the States, obviously with the travel restrictions. Colby said that he'd jump in. Did he? Didn't he? We don't know. Covington said the offer still stands. UFC, I go full Teddy Roosevelt and beat the brakes off Tyron Woodley live from the White House lawn. Save sports and make it free on ESPN for the people. I'm in such a giving mood. I'll even arrange a tour of the Oval Office for Tyrone. Woodley also commented on Twitter. I don't know if it was in reply or just throwing it out there. But he said, me versus Queefington, lovely. April 18th, unless Tony want to roll back to his Ultimate Fighter weight for the bag. Welterweight bout won't take no cheese out his lightweight macaroni. Let me know what that means in the comment section below. I'm British, I'm stupid, I have no idea what that means. But yeah, it looks like Woodley is... obviously you're saying that he'd be quite happy to have that Covington fight, but then equally he wouldn't mind testing Tony at welterweight. Not seen Tony fight at welterweight for a while. That could be quite interesting if that was to happen. It'd mean that Tony wouldn't have to weight cut, I assume, but yeah, it'd probably be a nice comfortable weight for him. Again, all these fights are good substitutes, not on the same level of Khabib-Tony, which for me makes me think that they shouldn't be happening, because if you're not going to produce something that's as epic and as must-see, that we need to see this fight, as a Tony Khabib, all these fights, they'd be good fights, but I don't think they're worth the risk at this point, which I know is an odd thing to say, because why is the Khabib-Tony one worth the risk in terms of human health and everything else? But it's a fight that has been cancelled 4 times before, so for me it's... Well, I understand Dana's point of wanting to try and get that fight over the line. Just to end all this, it's not exactly a great note to end things on, but obviously one news story that it's not exactly gone under the radar, but it's not been as publicised maybe as the Khabib dropout potentially, but Jon Jones getting arrested for his DWI, was it DUI? DWI, sorry, arrest that he had recently. And Daniel Cormier's mentioned Jon and spoke about Jon, talked about the incident. Obviously a lot of people wanted to know what his view was on everything, because they've had a storied past. And he mentioned, I think it was when him and Ariel Lawani were having their Skype chat show that they're doing on YouTube right now, which is quite good. Check it out. And he said, seeing him get into trouble again, a lot of people in my circle text me almost celebratory, but that's not me. I didn't celebrate the kid getting into trouble again. I don't think you should celebrate or dance on someone's grave in their darkest moments, because you don't do that to people. I didn't find any joy seeing that man in that situation again, because it's just bad. It's not just him. He's got daughters, he's got a fiance, he's got so many things at home that are affected by this and affected by his actions and his behaviour. And he said it won't change, and this was in terms of his pattern of behaviour. Cormier doesn't believe it'll change. He said it won't change until something or the people around him change. I think about my rivalry with Jones, and I'm not some black power guy, but as much as I dislike him in terms of personality, I hate him in a lot of ways, and I think a lot of it is the wasted talent and potential to be such a massive star. But I hate seeing a young black athlete in that situation even more than my disdain for him. I don't like seeing that, because it's almost what people expect, and I don't want that to be the way it is for these young athletes. So Cormier's had a really measured approach there. You can tell he's had a bit of time to think about everything that happened, as has happened, and formulate an honest opinion. He's not a guy who tends to go below the belt and attack people when they're down, per se. And I think, yeah, he's seen this for what it is on a grander scale. The fact that Jon has got a family, he's got a lot of responsibility, and these actions aren't just affecting him, they're affecting the people around him. It's not just about the UFC, it's not about the impact he's going to have on the UFC. If anything, that's insignificant compared to the effect that he's having on the rest of his family and the rest of his life. So let me know what you think about Jon Jones, this entire Jon Jones situation right now. What do you think about Cormier's comments on the situation as well? What do you think about UFC 249? What fights would you like to see on that card now that it's looking like we're not going to get Tony versus Khabib? Do you think the card should go ahead at all? Let me know all about this in the comment section below. I have been Gareth from WhatCulture Combat. Do not forget to like, share, click on that subscribe button, ring the bell as well while you're there. And yeah, check out all the lists that we've got right now on the WhatCulture Combat channel. We've got some awesome video diaries as well, involving myself getting kneed in the face, which I'm sure you'll all love to see. And yeah, in the meantime, look after yourselves, and hopefully I'll see you very, very soon.